Hi there, and welcome to Mindfulness Practice with Paul Sugar. Quick review on mindfulness. Mindfulness is the ability to pay attention moment by moment on purpose for the sake of keeping stress at abeyance, giving us the ability to live life more fully, more deeply, and then to move on to those flow states that we hear so much about. So let's do our warm-up exercises, and then I'll give you an introduction to the 8-minute mindfulness practice of the day. So first warm-up exercise is combining that connection with the body, thoughts, emotions, and breath while we're smiling real big. So let's have a big smile and at the same time connecting to the body, thoughts, emotions, and breath. Alrighty, lots of science behind that simple little practice. Very, very effective. Next, we'll move on to the 2-minute mindful breath, where we connect to the present moment, to the body, by paying close attention to our breathing. So finding a comfortable position to be in and embodying that sense of alert attention, which is what mindfulness is all about, and also self-acceptance. We want to accept who we are in this moment. And then shifting the attention to the breath as we breathe in and out through the nose. Nose breathing being very beneficial as far as keeping our nervous systems out of that stress mode. Just noticing the breath as it is in this moment. Staying with the breath. And noticing when the attention wanders, as it probably will. Where does it wander to? You got some choices there. Maybe it goes to a physical sensation somewhere in the body, or a thought, or an emotion. Taking note of that, and then bringing the attention right back to the breath. Each time that repetition occurs, we're honing our skills for mindfulness. So it's a good thing to have that attention wandering because it gives us the ability to build that mindful muscle. Breathing. Staying with the breath. Noticing the lower abdomen. Noticing how the breath begins there, rises up into the upper torso, shoulders, and then rolls back down again. In breath, a little pause, and then the out breath. Fully experiencing that breath, staying connected to the body through the breath. If it helps, every once in a while, you can silently say to yourself, breathing. Sometimes if you name what we're paying attention to, it helps to keep the attention there. Breathing. Fully experiencing the breath. And then opening the eyes if they've been closed. Continuing with the breath for a few more moments. I like to end each meditation practice with the eyes open so that we get the feel for bringing those meditation skills into everyday life. That way we get to be present 24/7, not just when we're meditating. Okay, so today's 8-minute practice is going to be a mindfulness practice around the quality of letting go. Letting go is an important attribute to mindfulness practice. It's one of the qualities of mindfulness practice, and it develops as we go deeper and deeper. And so there's a lot of things that we have a tendency to grasp onto and sort of let go. This is sort of a fear-based kind of behavior. Lots of us have things that we just have a hard time letting go with. So with mindfulness practice, we actually practice letting go. In fact, something as simple as the mindful breath, we're practicing letting go. Because what we're doing is when the attention wanders somewhere else, then we let go of wherever it wandered to. And then we bring it back to the breath. So that's one small example of how we're practicing letting go. Now, I had somebody give me an example of how they practice letting go, but we won't do that today. And what they did is they went into their closet, they picked out some of their favorite clothes, and they decided to give them away because they felt like they were too attached to their clothes. And so they gave them away. And in that way, they felt like they were practicing letting go. But of course, I'm not going to ask you to go into your closet and give your clothes away. Instead, we're going to do a very simple mindfulness practice that's designed to build up that ability to let go. Also, letting go is at the core. It's really the first principle of how we move from moment to moment. An example of that would be, let's say we're completely in the moment, fully experiencing the moment. So how do we get to the next moment? You guessed it. We let go. Because if we don't let go, then that present moment becomes the past. So letting go is one of the first principles of mindfulness practice because it's that ability that lets you move from moment to moment rather than getting stuck in the past. All right, so for today's exercise, we're going to use the body. And I'll give you the first exercise that we're going to do as far as practicing letting go. And so first, let's raise the shoulders up and we're going to hold them there. Just holding them there. A lot of times when we have stress in the body, we're not aware of it because we're sort of disconnected when we're stressed. So it's good for us to be able to feel where we have that tension. And by doing little exercises like this, we're able to connect. So the shoulders are up, which happens a lot when we're stressed. One of the first things is shoulders go up. And now just let go of the shoulders and notice what it feels like. Notice what letting go feels like. So you have the shoulders up and then you let them go. So that, believe it or not, that's a very simple, effective way of experiencing what letting go is all about. Now let's do another one. Let's just tilt the head to one side and stretch out that muscle, stretching out that muscle. And letting go, bringing it back into a neutral position and paying attention to what you're experiencing. What's the difference between holding something tight and then letting go? Holding the shoulders tight, letting go. Tilting the head tight, letting go. Okay, and just allowing yourself to experience the difference so that you can recognize it during your everyday activity. And once you recognize it, that's the first step to being able to change it. Next one, let's do a bicep. So here we go, big bicep. So holding the bicep and just holding the bicep, paying close attention to how it feels when you hold your body this way. And letting go. And now noticing how that feels. Remember, the simplest exercises are the most effective ones. What we're doing here is we're giving ourselves the insight into the difference between letting go and holding on to something. We don't want to hold on to something too long because it's going to then keep us in the past. We want to keep that flow going. Next, let's just make a fist. Keeping the fist tight and holding the fist, holding the fist. Holding the fist. And letting go. Just letting go of the fist, noticing once again the difference between holding and letting go. This is a great practice which will allow you to build up that skill of letting go, which allows you to move from moment to moment rather than getting stuck in the past. Okay, next one. We're going to hold our breath for about 5 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds. Let's see how we do here. Holding the breath. And letting go. Noticing once again the contrast between holding and letting go. And let's just sit and mindfully breathe for a few moments before we move on to the next part of the body. Breathing. Staying with the breath. And now back to our letting go practice. Next, let's raise the arm up, and you're going to feel the shoulder muscle holding on there, right here. You feel that tightening up there, and just holding that. Noticing what it feels like after we hold this for a while. And then letting go. Now noticing what it feels like once you've let go. Okay, next let's tighten our feet. Just bringing the toes together, tightening the toes, scrunching up those toes, holding the toes like that for a few moments. And then letting go. Letting go of the toes, noticing the difference between holding on and letting go. Next one, grasping the fingers together like this and clasping them really hard. Holding them together. You can see my fingers are getting red from it. So, experiencing holding. This is literally holding, one hand holding the other. Holding, holding. And letting go. And just dropping the hands into that letting go experience, becoming familiar with what it feels like to let go. Once again, a lot of times we don't even know that we're holding on because to some degree or another we're sort of disconnected. So we don't have that feedback loop telling us where in our body we're holding on, or where in our emotions we're holding on, or maybe even the breath. In fact, that's a good one to do. A lot of times when we, let's say, do a yoga class and we go into a position and we hold a posture for a long time, there's a tendency that when we hold our body in one position for a while, that we also hold our breath. So for example, let's say just raising the arms up like this and holding it. I think for a lot of us, we have a tendency that when we're holding the body like this, we're also holding the breath. So noticing that connection between the breath and the body. And lowering the arms, noticing the breathing again. Of course, the ideal thing is to notice if you're holding the breath while you're holding a position. Or if you're stressed or if you're got an emotional issue going on, there's that connection to the breath. A lot of times the breath will hold on as well. So this letting go practice, very, very effective, very, very valuable. Okay, so I think we've sufficiently let go at this point. We don't want to let go so much that we float away, although that might be nice too. All right, so let's open up to some questions or comments, and we've got a minute or two where I can address any questions or comments. Okay, here's one coming down the pike. This fellow has PTSD, and that's post-traumatic stress disorder. Wants to know if mindfulness practice can help with that. And if so, how does it work? Okay. Well, PTSD is an extreme example of somebody whose nervous system has gotten stuck in the fight or flight mode. Now, a lot of us get stuck in the fight or flight mode for extended periods of time, actually. And I've worked with people who've been stuck in fight or flight for decades. Of course, they don't know it because one of the ramifications of being stuck in fight or flight is we disconnect from our bodies. So we lose that connection, those feedback loops where the body's telling us what's going on. So, and I think that there's a tendency nowadays for people to get stuck in that fight or flight mode, to get stuck in that stress mode. So with PTSD, you've got an extreme example of that. Somebody who's deep into the fight or flight, really deep into it, an extreme situation. And so we call that PTSD. Now, there are lesser situations of being stuck in fight or flight where all of those physical and mental and emotional changes that take place aren't quite as profound as when we're really deeply stuck in the fight or flight mode. There's varying degrees of being stuck in fight or flight. And from a medical point of view, the definition only fits those that are in the extreme situation, where there's really an extreme disconnection and lost contact with the body, the thoughts, the emotions, the breath, and so forth and so on. And it doesn't take much to trigger an extreme reaction for somebody who's in that fight or flight mode. When you're in the lesser situations of being stuck that way, it's not quite as bad. So that's what PTSD is. And those are the qualities of it. And how mindfulness helps is when we're stuck in the fight or flight mode, stuck in stress, the biggest ramification that we deal with is that we disconnect. That's one of our coping mechanisms of how we protect ourselves. Because the fight or flight situation is really an alert system that tells us that our survival is at issue. And so the way we protect ourselves is by disconnecting. So if we do get into a survival situation, we don't have to experience the pain and suffering that could possibly go along with it. So with mindfulness, it's really the antidote to that disconnection, because if you remember the way I started today, the four things that we pay attention to in mindfulness are the body, the thoughts, the emotions, and the breath. Those same four things that we disconnect from when we go into the fight or flight mode and get stuck there. So that's how mindfulness reverses that situation. It slowly, gradually brings us back into connection with the body, thoughts, emotions, and breath. The autonomic nervous system takes that as a message that there's no more danger out there, and then it shifts itself out of the stress mode, out of the fight or flight mode. So yes, bottom line is mindfulness is definitely very, very effective with extreme PTSD and also not as extreme PTSD. All right, so I think we have, we've run out of time. And so let's finish up with our combination mindful smile and mindful connecting to the body, thoughts, emotions, and the breath. 15 seconds of practice, and here we go. Big smile. And all those endorphins, those feel-good chemicals being released in the body. All righty. So that's it for today. I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday, 4 o'clock to around 4:20-ish Arizona time. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.